All right, it is now 12:30 Monday afternoon, and that means it's time for In the Crosshairs with JD and Clay. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing good. How we doing today, Jay?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I came off the McQuaid weekend with a fourth place finish in the softball tournament, so not so bad there, huh?
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice going, man. Who's drawing your cards for you Saturday?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. We had somebody really lucky
man.
that pulled our draw.
Hey, man, as long as you got there, I don't care how you did, you got there. So, yeah. I'm doing good today, Jay. I drew a buck tag, so I'm in a great mood.
Oh, well, fantastic for you. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Four topics once again this week, and we're going to start them off now with the Biden administration announcing last Thursday that it was going to start cracking down on the type of hunting equipment that hunters are allowed on federal refuge. Now, Clay, would you like to expand on what equipment now this includes?
Well, essentially, the one's going to be lead ammunition. And this isn't the first time this has come about. And, of course, lead weights and fishing tackle. So
Yeah, it's not hunting, so just
not
that.
hunting. Okay.
Yep. But that's the main thing here. And, of course, lead's the most cost-effective way to probably get those items as far as bullets go and things like that. The big thing is that it's just another push for the environmental agenda and anti-hunting and anti-fishing. And they're out there. Believe me, guys, anti-fishing are out there, too. They don't like the idea that we can go harvest animals whatsoever. So this is going to be the 2023-2024 deal. This came up here, I got to remember, I think it was about 8-9 years ago, and we were able to basically beat it and get it not to happen in the U.S. Fish and Wild Service. But here they are. They're feeling emboldened. They got a Biden administration that backs them, so they're going after it again. And you're essentially not going to be able to use them on 8 national wildlife refuges in the United States. And of course, that's publicly owned land, or as I like to call it, taxpayer funded land. It's our land that U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is going to do. But that's pretty much the gist of it. And I don't know if you have something you want to add, Jamie.
Yeah.
I would just say, I mean, if you're a fisherman and you think who cares about hunting, it's time to get in the game. If you're not in the game, they're coming after your stuff too. And Jay, I don't know how much shooting you do or know about ammunition, but I do reloading and I do tons of shooting. So the price of all cops, I mean, if you want to be proficient with your rifle at any range, really, I'll just give you an example of different prices. I actually looked today. So like 100 rounds of just like a common like coyote round or anything, a 55 grain Hornet AV Max. For 100 rounds of that's a lead core with the copper jacket. That's $25 for 100. The comparable bullet would be a 55 grain Barnes TTX. That's an all copper round. For 50 rounds, that's $37, Jay.
Wow.
That's a huge difference. You're paying more for half the product.
Yeah,
So JD, what's the reasoning behind getting rid of the lead? Because we all grew up, with our lead sinkers. You put them on the end of the line, and so what is the deal? Environmentally hazard, or what is it?
Well, that's what they say, Jay. If you remember, it had to be, I want to say about 14, 15 years ago, there was a big thing around Bismarck where this guy who hunted with hawks was claiming that the lead fragment deer were poisoning. And they did a big study and tested a bunch of people. And I mean, these guys who ate deer meat almost every day had slightly elevated levels of lead in their blood, which they couldn't eat. They said that it wouldn't even harm you. It was such a slight increase over. So, I mean, they're using that, they think lead is so toxic to people that they just want to ban it, Jay, and they'll say anything they can to do it. Jay, I could eat a whole bowl of lead bullets and I wouldn't die. I'd get a gut ache from it, right? The fumes from the lead is what gets you. Just like the California banned all lead ammo for all hunting in 2019, right? Because they said it was killing the condors and the golden eagles and bald eagles. Well, in 2020, Jay, they had a record die-off of California condors. So I'm like, okay, common sense will tell you right there. You went less and more died. And so, I mean, people use that and they believe it. There's probably some things I believe that aren't true, but I mean, the science doesn't back these guys up. They didn't do it on peer review. And Senator Daines from Montana, another guy, got Senate Bill 1185, which is what they said. They don't want to ban it, but if you want to try it, let's have a big hearing. go in conjunction with state agencies and just do this peer review with other people and prove that this is actually killing stuff.
Yeah.
Not only
Clay.
that, guys, I don't know if you've looked at any water results. Every city, municipality, anybody has a municipality, I think it's over, I want to say it's over 100 people, but I can't remember off the top of my head, has to do water testing. Have you ever looked at one of them reports? You probably see more lead, mercury, name your contaminant in a water filter, a filtration system from a city or municipality, but it's not harmful to you. You can't get everything out. There's more lead in that than there's
Unless you're in Detroit.
Unless you're in Detroit, and a lot of that leaches out of lead pipe.
I don't know about how that all goes there, but I'm different. Sorry, but go ahead, Clay.
I can tell you one thing though, on that study that they did with the deer, that originated actually, that study I believe was done by UND, and then they found out it was being backed by an anti-hunting organization. I don't know if anybody knew that whole story and premise, and found out that the lead contamination probably, and that's why I mentioned the water thing, was more than likely coming from the water that these people supposedly tested high in lead. And I can tell you right now, eating meat, shot lead bullets, is not going to give you cancer, and it surely is not going to kill you if you even ingest it at all.
Yeah, well, I've been eating deer and pheasants shot with lead since I was a kid, and my family did, and my family before then. I grew up eating this stuff, and I ate it all the time. And everybody else I did. What surprised me too, Jay, is when that study came out, like people I knew who actually hunted and grew up hunting with that cat, they believed it, and I was like, hey, you guys, don't you believe your own eyes here? You've grown up eating this stuff, and now you guys are buying into it that it's going to kill you.
So, Clay, is this primarily out on the eastern coast, I believe, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, I think is where the refuges are. Is that right?
That's the ones they listed.
There's one in Minnesota.
But most, you got Blackwater, Maryland, Chickacockagee, I can't even pronounce it, Virginia, Neck, Maryland, Erie, Pennsylvania, Great Thicket, Massachusetts. You got a research refuge in Maryland. You got the Rachel Maine, and then the Wallops Island Nation in Virginia.
Well, you got Minnesota Valley National Wildlife Refuge too. They got on here. So. And
do you think this is they're putting a toe in the doorway to do this nationally now that they're just going to do it on these federal reserves? What do you think on that?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it'll be the beginning once they get their foothold. There's a lot of national wildlife refuges in the state of North Dakota, as well as Wyoming, South Dakota, and our surrounding states. I can tell you one thing. South Dakota here several years ago passed a non-toxic shot ban or use on all public land. And when that happened, it even included the federal land. So if you go to hunt, say, south of me here down in Dakota, down by the Shade Hill Reservoir, you better not have lead shot in your shotgun. You basically, it's just like hunting waterfowl, and that's for upland birds, whether it be doves, partridge, grouse, or pheasants. And I've shot steel. I don't like steel. I prefer tungsten over steel if I'm going to be shooting non-toxic, because it acts more like lead. But that was based on nothing. I don't know why South Dakota even got that through. Nobody was watching, I guess, when they passed. So, I mean, you're going to start seeing this. And you've got states like California that have done it statewide already. But this is just a foot in the door. It really is.
JD,
and
besides...
I was going to say, JD... Yeah, go for it.
I was going to say that besides the price point of it being more, what about the availability?
I mean, honestly, if I go in now, it's available. Your selection of bullets and ammunition it's definitely not as widely available as the traditional, lead core, copper jacket ammo. It works just as good. Mike's used it not because he's afraid of lead, but he bought some once and tried it, and it's worked good for him. And they both a full copper bullet, Jay, it'll expand and go through. It won't shed a lot of its weight. Like a copper cord bullet will go in and expand and douse all its energy, its kinetic energy inside of the animal, where a full copper round will just punch its way through. Like it'll expand, but it'll put a hole through them. Like if you're worried about, like, I would say a big elk or something, like if you think you're gonna have to bust through a shoulder or something, like it's good for that. I mean, like I said, it'll kill it, but I mean, most of the time it'll come out the other side, where Even a soft point bullet a lot of times will blow up, or just a little bit will come out the other side. But yeah, I'm not against it. I just don't think we should be forced to use it.
Hey, I got
Sure.
a question for Jamie. Do you think that I've kind of noticed this too. It don't seem like this that would come out of your traditional rifle handguns are near as susceptible as say shotgun shot, as far as the what it produces and how it flies and what it does. And I can tell you, I do not like the non-toxic steel in my shotgun shells. They just don't go as far and they don't pattern as nice. That's the difference I've seen as far as between rifles versus shotguns.
I've never even shot steel clay. I don't hunt waterfowl or geese or anything.
No.
My buddies who do it though, I will tell you, almost all of them say they definitely prefer lead over steel if they could still use it. They said it kills better. I mean, because it expands a little bit and gets mutzed up when it penetrates. So yeah, that's what I know.
That's my experience too.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, JD, in Virginia now, Josh Highlander is suing state game wardens. He claims that they trespassed on his property and stole his trail camera without a warrant. Now, should trespassing signs apply to government officials too?
Oh, I think 100% it should, unless they have a warrant. Yeah, this guy's wife, apparently the opening of turkey season there in April, something, I can't remember the date, looked out their window there and hear a guy walking around on their property all camoed up, and he goes out and finds out his trail cameras, calls the sheriff, and sheriff says, yeah, they didn't steal it. That was game and fish. They were all looking for something. They never did say what they were looking for. Really, this guy's got an attorney hired, and he's going to court with them. He said it's not about the money. It's about the principle. They got too much power. Just come on the land without, they didn't even have a reason. They wouldn't give him one. They just, that happened last year, Jay, up on our property. My uncle shot himself a dandy of a buck, and he had it on social media, and I posted it, of course, on our Guns in the 701 social media. And last week of deer season, he's out on the farm doing something, and somebody pulls in the yard. Here, it's the game warden. Just say, hey, I heard you got a buck. Yeah, I did. I did. Where you got it? And he goes, what do you mean, where do I got it? He goes, you got a tag on it? He goes, yeah, it's at the meat shop in Beulah. Why don't you go check on it yourself? I mean, I think that's harassment. Jay, you just pull on somebody's land and start like you're guilty already.
Yeah,
I don't like that. I like what this guy's doing. And there's some states that have protections like that, right, Clay? In North Dakota, we tried to pass one years ago, but they wouldn't pass.
No, yeah, North Dakota has open fields doctrine, fortunately, still. Pretty much your dwelling, and I forget, was it 100 from it, maybe even 50. It's not very much land. So essentially, if you have outbuildings, say your garage or your shop is beyond your dwelling, they go search that. Now, a sheriff can't. Heck, a federal marshal can't. But a game warden can, and that's got to change. South Dakota, fortunately, got rid of open field doctrine. That was a big thing down there. They formed South Dakota Lockout, and then pretty much locked up the entire western part of South Dakota from hunting till it changed. And it took a governor change when Rhino Rounds was finally out and went to Congress, and Kristi Noem was elected, and she got rid of that doctrine, which was really a good thing. We need to see the same thing here, and I'm pretty sure Governor Burgum could get behind it, but he won't. And Game and Fish is adamantly against it. They love having that power. And one thing I noticed in this Virginia case, if I was this guy's lawyer, my first question would be like, if you guys weren't trying to be sneaky and you seriously, truly are trespassing, why were you fully camoed up? I would think during the first day of a hunting season like this happened on, wouldn't you want to have your full orange on so you don't get shot as a game warden?
Clay, what happened if you come out without your orange on and they caught you?
Oh, you know what they would do. You know what they do. I don't know if they could do it out there for like turkey hunting, like down here they don't.
Yeah, for pheasant you don't have. Clay, here's what I think happened. They were snooping around on this guy for something, and they seen his camera, and they just took it because they didn't want to get busted on his camera is what happened.
That's what I think.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's where the case is different. A lot of the cases that have come before courts on this particular open field doctrine, because a lot of states have this policy. It amazes me. And it goes back literally 100 years in a lot of places that they actually stole property. That's personal property on his personal acreage. So now you have theft, and it's theft of an item, and it does go against not just a warrantless search, but seizure. They had absolutely no reason or reasonable suspicion to take this gentleman's camera. So I'm going to be following this case because I think it can be a precedent-setting case, honestly.
Yeah, like I said, he's not going for money. He said he wants to be reimbursed
$1.
for $1, and then he wants the court
$1.
costs reimbursed, and he wants his camera back. And he said he wants to permanently prohibit wildlife officials from searching privately, without a warrant. He doesn't want that happening because property rights is the main reason he's doing this. And I agree with the guy. I'm not like anti-game and fish. I agree with Clayton. They have way too much power. Way too much power for that stuff.
Yeah, so North Dakota, same thing, limitless power. Game and Fish can just wander onto your property and take whatever they want if they need to, huh?
Yep.
Well, I know that they can absolutely come on your property if they have reasonable suspicion. And that's your problem there.
Yeah.
If you catch them on there and you want to go to court and spend probably 10 grand taking them to court, you probably can win a case. But who's going to do that? They usually let it go, and they know this. I didn't do it with a game warden that was parked on our property for no reason. And let's just say that she left. I wasn't going to put up with that.
Yeah, and like I said, Jay, I talked to officially the Game and Fish about this incident with my uncle, and he's like, "Wow, people tell them, they get tips, and then they go, they have to go," and I'm like, "Yeah," and then you guys should get a warrant for that instead of somebody's private property. My uncle's 72-year-old. 73, actually, he was 72. Then the guy's a Vietnam veteran. He was a mayor of the town for countless years. I mean, so this guy's a crook now for whatever reason, or he's breaking. I think that's ridiculous.
The warrantless trespassing and or seizure on people's private property under open doctrines is equivalent to me of a red flag law.
I was going to say that, Clayton.
You have no reason. It might be a tip from someone who hates you. I mean, there is that. There's people that are neighbors, unfortunately, that don't get along, and they might call and say, "Hey, I think my neighbor over there poached a deer. You should go check it out." And that would be enough in North Dakota for a game warden to pay you a visit. And it's a bunch of crap. I want to see proof, and if you want to do it, if there's enough evidence, that's what the whole warrant's about. You go before a judge with the evidence, and then they will issue or not issue it.
And if you're going to give a
tip, and balance of our judicial system.
If you give a tip and they come crawling up behind end and it's not true, then I think the person who did the tip should have to pay a fine.
There's a good idea. Hey, we need to lobby for that next session.
Everybody's supposed to be accountable. Then I want the person who's accusing you of being accountable as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
We're making laws today, gentlemen. We're making new laws today.
We're going to be better off for it, Jake.
That's right. Recently, the current administration has been called out on some false allegations and claims. What are these statements that were made, Clay?
Well, they got 6 of them. What I was really shocked is that CNN did this. I mean, CNN is not exactly friendly to the Constitution or the Second Amendment. And basically, the first one they attacked was Biden's assertion of his son, Beau, who we all know passed away from cancer, not in the Iraq War. Another false statement by Biden that he's been saying, but said that he was one of the first to enforce a red flag law in Delaware when he's Attorney General. Well, the nice thing about that is he served from 2007 to 2015. Delaware didn't have a red flag law at that point. So, again, this isn't hard with Biden. He does this all the time. And that was that was a false claim. And for CNN to point it out, that's probably the bigger news story, is that they actually are the ones that are kind of throwing him under the bus. The next couple of them is an AR pistol stabilizer brace. Well, Biden claims that it transforms a pistol into a gun. Well, okay. That basically is going to make it easier to shoot, and it's going to.
So does he mean gun like he makes it a rifle? Is that because he's turned into a gun? A pistol's a gun.
And that's exactly right. A pistol's already a gun, and I think he probably meant rifle, even though a false statement too, because Biden doesn't know anything about firearms. But then he makes the next claim that it makes it into a higher caliber bullet. Huh? I mean, a 223 is always going to be a .224 bullet.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, again, a guy who doesn't understand. He knows not what he's talking about. You can't change the caliber of the bullet. The bullet, unless you shoot it, it might lose a little lead after it expands and maybe do different caliber. But
yeah, you can strap your AR-15 to the side of a cannon. It's still an AR-15 that shoots 223 bullets. But okay, go ahead, Clay. Now he's got a couple more here that are some doozies.
Yeah, well, and then they basically go on this fourth false claim that he asserted that gun manufacturers are the only industry in America you can't sue. And now I've run into basically pretty prominent Second Amendment defenders, and they thought that too. And of course, we just talked about this on our show on the 701 on our Wednesday stream about the Protection of Lawful Commerce and Firearms Act, which does shelter all firearms manufacturers from being sued for the murders, killings, whatever it might be, accidents due to using it in the wrong way or unlawfully. But it does not protect them from a manufacturing default that caused injury. That's the same as it would be with most items out there and things sold. And I think it was funny that CNN actually pointed this out, that we already have that. The big one is the China virus shot. The pharmaceuticals got complete and total liability coverage, basically. They're not allowed for any adverse effects of that shot, nor are the people who give it, sell it, or administer it. That's pretty significant when you look at something like that could potentially harm somebody because they took the product because we didn't know anything about it. And I'm going to let Jamie wrap up.
Yeah,
on
well,
the
and I get the kick out of this one. The NRA can't be sued. I mean, I think pretty much anybody who doesn't even care about guns or anything knows Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, is suing the NRA. That's been going on for a couple of years now. They thought they were going to bury the NRA, but it's not really working for them. So, Joe, yeah, they're being sued right now. You can sue them.
Yeah.
And then,
in fact, they have zero protections.
Yeah.
Firearm manufacturers have better protections than a private nonprofit organization of anything.
Yeah, so his last claim there that CNN debunked for us, got a California fundraiser. He said the Second Amendment doesn't own any weapon, and it says there are certain weapons you just can't own. You can't own a machine gun. I can read the Second Amendment for you. It doesn't say anything like that whatsoever. You can own a machine gun. They're very expensive. You can just pass your background check and get your class 3. You can own, if you got the money, you can own all kinds of machine guns if you want to pay for them.
Like you said,
right. And you can't buy a cannon. Clay, you and I know people who own cannons for that matter. You can buy a cannon right now. You can buy a tank if you want. The guy just says stuff. I'm really glad CNN did this because a lot of news outlets will cover for the guy and they call him out on it. As far as no right being, what's the word he used there, Clay? No constitutional protection is absolute. Well, somebody should ask him. And so, like the Ninth Amendment, the right to vote, just some people can vote yet and some can't because no right's absolute, right, Joe? No, that's what it says. Everybody's right to be a citizen. That's what it means. Every person is a citizen.
And that's what's been happening. They kept saying that it isn't absolute. I mean, Obama said that it isn't absolute. That was their big thing on the Second Amendment. Although it seemed like the other ones were absolute. That was okay. Not ours. And working is good anymore. And I think that's why you see Newsom and a lot of liberals now are getting on the bandwagon. Let's have the 28th Amendment, which we covered that here a while back. It isn't going to pass because they ain't going to get 2/3 of the legislatures to actually ratify it. I don't think they got 2/3 to ratify it. That's what it is.
I don't either, Clay. Not yet, and I hope it never gets to that point because if it does, we're not going to have a country.
Nope, it'll be bad. Yeah, it'll be bad.
Well, here is something that I was surprised to see, JD, when you sent it. Crossbow sales now are really heating up in the state of Minnesota after a legislation change. What is the new? What's new in the land of 10,000 lakes?
So now for anybody who wants to archery hunt, it's now legal for them to buy a crossbow and use a crossbow. I kind of got, yeah, it's, I found the headline kind of funny, Jay, because it said heating up. But if you read the article, some of these guys are like, we used to sell like one crossbow a week and now we're selling one a day. And, and of course it goes through the whole thing. I've been going back and forth with people on years about the crossbows, and it's kind of like hunting with a bolt rifle and 15. People who, not all bow hunters, but a lot of them think they're real purist hunters. And if you use a crossbow, you're cheating. And I have a crossbow, Jay. I have a license for it. I've got 2 deer with it. And like people think you can shoot super far with them. And you can shoot a little farther, but as far as like, you still have to have the deer, where you have to have the deer there, right? You have to be in a place where there's deer and you have to have access to that land to hunt. And I've shot with my buddies with a compound bows, Jay. They'll hit the target at 100 yards. I've never shot a target at 100 yards, and they can do it. I mean, could I do it if I practice more? Probably. Do I? No. The one I got, one was at 20 yards, and the other one was 35. Huge mule deer. I missed them at 60, and I actually forgot my cocking rope, which you need for a lot of crowd. I had to do it with my fingers. My fingers hurt after doing it, but then I missed them again. So it's not automatic. People think just because you got a crossbow, you're gonna wipe out a deer. It's just gonna be super easy. It's not. And like I said, you have to have access to land anyways. A lot of people will probably buy them and then they'll never use the things, or people think the population is going to get wiped out because everybody's going to fill your tag. Not true, Jay. One thing I did notice in the article, one of the guys, the technicians at the bow shop, said a lot of people don't know this, but you have to actually get your strings redone probably at 200 or 300 shots because there is a lot of power behind them. And I didn't know that, so maybe I should maybe take mine, and I probably got close to 200-300 because it's fun to target shoot with. But yeah, and then of course you get the people, and there's a guy in the story talking about like I just said, they don't think it's real hunting, and you need to just get out there with your vertical bow. I don't like that. I don't like that at all, with that kind of attitude about something. I think it's bunk, but that's my opinion. So
Clay, why the change now to allowing users to use, I guess, crossbows? What has changed? And JD, how long have you had your crossbow?
Since 2011, the first year I got it, and that was the first year I got a whitetail buck. Never stuck another deer for like 8 years, and I could do it every year, honestly, on our property. I don't.
Yeah. Clay, why the change now?
Well, I think for starters, in my opinion, there's a lot more interest in hunting. Looking at it as another season. And I imagine and I didn't read the article about that part of it, but I've had an opinion on this for a long time. We talked about it on the show, Jamie and I have, but I think that people look at it and go, wait. So you got the people who think that, you got people in the archery world that think that people shouldn't be using compound bows because they have an advantage. And to me, I look at the more people out there, the better. And I imagine too, just with visiting with people strictly archery hunt, they don't want to see their season that they've carved out getting more populated, getting more people out there, because it'll make it now for them to get a tag if that happened. I guarantee if we could allow that here in North Dakota, you'll probably see more people go after that archery tag, which to me isn't the whole idea of hunting seasons about management, the management tool. And I think we've lost sight of that. So, I mean, maybe that plays into this. Get more people out there. You can harvest more in archery season. And I think that's a good thing. Introduce people to it more rather than just those that may, like me, I got a bad shoulder. I know Jamie does too, and we're allowed to use them. But I don't have an issue with it. And Jamie and I and a few others did some testing on this already.
Yeah, we never did get that video up yet. I still have it, though.
Need to get that up there and talk about it, because it's really not a big advantage. You still have to be proficient with that tool.
So I'd add real quick, Jay, this guy Marty Stubbstad, 69-year-old, he owns archery headquarters. Here's what he says: to me, it's not an archery weapon. What that is to me, we got people with Clay and I call FUDs who think you only need bolt action rifles and double barrel shotguns. This guy's a FUD of the archery world. That's a bad attitude to have.
I mean, we got people right now that literally think we should not allow semi-autos, not just AR, semi-autos as a whole, to be used to hunt with. So, I mean, you've got everybody within our hunting community. You've got these little factions that, for whatever reason, they don't like technology that's going to advance you actually making a good, clean harvest on your game. And to me, that should always be the point.
You
good,
bet.
clean harvest.
100%.
Well, gentlemen, the half hour breezed by just like that.
Yeah, that was fun, Jay.
Yeah, Guns in the 701 coming up Wednesday night live. What do you got planned for us?
Well, I think we're going to try to get one guest on, aren't we, Jamie?
A bow hunting guy, yeah. I think we're going to try and get our friend Andy Elliott on from Bladery and Artie. We're going to do that. And I don't know if Andy's going to maybe be on for half hour, an hour. And then, of course, on Friday at 8:40 a.m. Central, we're going to be on with Todd Mitchell in the morning, KFYR 550 AM radio.
And of course, all right. You don't want to forget to download that from the iHeart app. I tell you right now, that's the easiest way to get the podcast of any of our shows, including right here in the Crosshairs with JD
Excellent.
hosted by Jay Dillon.
Excellent, guys. Well, thank you so much. We are going to be off next Monday celebrating the Independence Day holiday.
Well,
I'll be looking for the biggest bottle rockets and firecrackers I can find hands on. So,
all right, buddy. I'm
I
going
wanna-
to shoot some tracers off somewhere, I think.
There we go. There we go.
well, I want to wish you a happy Independence Day. Be safe out there. Have yourself some fun, and we'll catch up with you in a couple weeks. Okay, guys?
You bet, Jay. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
it, Jay, and guys, happy end of the day, and keep your powder dry, guys.
You bet,
All
buddy.
right. Thank you so much. All right. It is now o'clock. We'll take a quick break here at the KFYR Plus